Well, good evening, East Alabama and West Georgia. Dr. Dodd in here with you on your Tuesday evening. It is 5:49 p.m. Central on March 4th. It is 6:49 p.m. Eastern if you're in the Eastern time zone, and we are here to talk about the potential for some strong thunderstorms across Alabama and Georgia this evening and some pretty strong wind that may move across the area before, during, and after this line of thunderstorms that's marching into East Alabama at this hour. The National Weather Service has just issued a brand new tornado watch, which covers parts of southwest Alabama, west Alabama, and central Alabama. So I wanted to come on and kind of give you an update on what we know at the moment and where the weather is at the moment and what we think is going to happen over the next several hours. And then as the weather starts to move into East Alabama, then we'll come back and we'll go live and we'll give you wall-to-wall coverage. First, I want to bring your attention to the graphic you see there on the screen. This is the latest graphic from the National Weather Service office out of Birmingham showing the two different threat levels across Alabama. And you folks who are watching us in West Georgia, you're in that yellow, which is a level 2 out of 5 risk. That means that there's a slight risk that we could see severe weather across East Alabama and West Georgia. And then that orange area down in central, south central, and southern Alabama, southwest Alabama, is a enhanced risk of severe weather, meaning that the chances for tornadoes and stronger winds will be greater in that area. It's basically along and south of the I-85 corridor, and that is where the tornado watch is also posted for this evening. Let's just go ahead and go straight to the radar, and I'll show you that yellow outline that you see down there in central and southwest Alabama and back into Mississippi is the tornado watch. That portion in Alabama and northwest Florida just issued just a few moments ago by the Storm Prediction Center and the National Weather Service office out of Birmingham and Mobile coordinated that particular watch. Now, what does a tornado watch mean? It means that conditions are favorable for severe thunderstorms and tornadoes in and close to that watch area. It just simply means that we're watching out for that possibility. Doesn't mean that they're there or that they are happening. That would be a tornado warning. When a warning is issued, that means that we either have a tornado or severe thunderstorm indicated by radar, or we have ground truth reporting that we actually have something on the ground. So remember, watch means conditions are favorable. Warning means it's actually happening. So keep that in mind as we go throughout this event this evening. Now, let me go full screen radar, and let's just kind of take a tour here of what we're looking at this hour. This is your live Southern Union State Community College live Doppler HD radar. It is current as of 5:52 p.m. Central Time, and you'll see that the greens, for those of you who are just learning how to understand radar, the green is just simply rain. The yellow is moderate to heavy rain, and the red is extremely heavy rain. And typically, if you're going to have severe weather, it's going to be in those areas where you see the red. But that's not always the case. All the radar is telling you is that is extremely heavy rainfall. Doesn't necessarily mean that we have severe weather occurring in those areas. There are other things we have to look for, such as lightning output. Now, we have, at the moment, we don't have a tremendous amount of lightning output with this line of thunderstorms. You'll see up in North Alabama, there's basically no lightning output. Our first lightning strike that we see is down there in the Birmingham area and then to the points south and southwest. But this line of thunderstorms is stretching from Huntsville to West Birmingham, all the way down into southwest Alabama to around Thomasville, close to Jackson, Alabama, and then stretching back into Hattiesburg, Mississippi. Understand we're looking at this from the Birmingham radar, so there is more convection down here in Louisiana and Mississippi that this particular radar is not picking up at this hour. So at the moment, we have no warnings in Alabama. You'll see a severe thunderstorm warning there just south of Meridian, Mississippi, also just north and south of Hattiesburg, Mississippi. We also have severe thunderstorm warnings there. We did have a tornado warning about an hour or so ago just west of Hattiesburg, but I haven't seen a tornado warning since then. And so all we have seen in the last 30 to 40 minutes have been these severe thunderstorm warnings. I would anticipate that some of our southwest counties in Alabama are most likely going to go under a severe thunderstorm warning here shortly. Now, most of you watch us from East Alabama and West Georgia. You're over here in places like Ashland, Lineville, Talladega, Roanoke. You're over here in Carrollton, in Franklin, down in LaGrange, Lafayette, Auburn, Opelika. You're watching us from Alexander City. That's East Alabama and West Georgia. When you hear me reference East Alabama and West Georgia, I'm talking east of the I-65 corridor, south of the I-20 corridor, and north of the I-85 corridor from Atlanta all the way back to Clanton. That's what I consider East Alabama and West Georgia. And at the moment, there's absolutely nothing happening in East Alabama and West Georgia. The tornado watch makes it all the way over to Elmore County, which is just outside of our official coverage area. Now, if we get severe weather in Elmore County, are we going to talk about it here? Absolutely we are, because that will eventually end up in East Alabama and West Georgia. We'll talk about weather in Chilton County, Autauga County, and Montgomery County, because that's where your weather comes from across East Alabama and West Georgia. So from Lee County, Alabama, up to Cleburne County, over to Calhoun, and then back into Georgia, all the way up to the west side of Atlanta. Those are the areas that we cover here on Dr. Don's Weather. And at the moment, again, we have no warnings in the state of Alabama. We do have a couple of warnings that are setting just to our west, just inside of Mississippi. And we do have that tornado watch that's just been posted for central and southwestern Alabama that goes out until 1 a.m. Tomorrow morning. A couple of interesting things I do want to show you, and we'll go back over to the graphics box, and I want to show you the Mississippi power outages. This is always a good way to kind of judge how the weather has been in those areas that it's already passed through. And you'll see that in Mississippi at the moment, we've got 35,000 customers without power. And you can kind of see those counties that are highlighted in yellow where the heaviest weather has been, because that's where the most power outages are in the state of Mississippi. So basically from about Jackson, Mississippi, maybe a little bit north of Jackson, down to the south is where we're seeing most of the power outages in Mississippi at this hour. Then we'll take a look at Alabama. You can see that we already have some power outages down in southwest Alabama associated with this line of thunderstorms. Understand that the gradient winds about an hour before this line of thunderstorms moves into your area are going to pick up significantly. We're talking winds sustained 20 to maybe 25 miles per hour, with occasional gust as high as 40 to 45 miles per hour. That's before the thunderstorms get to you. And then you have the wind from the thunderstorms themselves, and then we're going to be really breezy after the front moves through. So winds are going to continuously increase as we go throughout the evening. I've already seen reports of damage in the Birmingham area from trees as this line of storms approached about an hour ago over there in West Birmingham. So make sure the Alabama State Bird is tied down. I actually saw some video of a swimming pool. Now, this was an above-ground swimming pool, and I don't know if it had water in it or not, but I actually saw a photograph about 2 hours ago of a swimming pool that had flipped over with a trampoline sitting right next to it, and the trampoline wasn't touched. It's crazy. So make sure if you've got anything outside and the storms haven't reached you yet and the wind hasn't got very high at your house yet, make sure you go outside and secure those items, because it is going to get very windy. Whether we have any severe weather or not at your house, it is going to be very windy at your house throughout the remainder of tonight and into tomorrow morning. So keep that in mind. And we'll just take a look at Georgia right quick. And you see there, we don't have anything storm related as far as power outages are concerned in Georgia at this hour. All right, so let's go back over to the let's go to the radar. I'm going to take it full screen, and I'm just going to leave the radar up. I'm going to put it in motion so you can kind of get a general sense of the direction these storms are moving. And I'll go over to the chat room and see if anybody has any questions out there this morning. Strap your trash cans down. That's a very good idea. Wadley in the house. Paula says, I hope it's not as bad as last time. Well, yeah, last time was pretty rough, and some of you were without power for, 48 hours or in some locations even longer than that. I got to say that this doesn't look as significant as that system did, but we've still got a ways to go, so don't let your guard down. We'll see. We'll watch this thing together. Melinda's watching us in Wedowee. Susan's watching us from Woodland. Faye's watching us in Roanoke. Jessica says it's already super windy in LaGrange. Faye's asking the question, does it look severe tonight for Roanoke? Folks, all I can do is tell you what the weather forecast is. And the weather forecast is for the potential for severe weather. I can't tell you with any certainty whether or not you're 100% going to have severe weather in your front yard, regardless of where you're watching us from. All I can do is give you the weather forecast as it has been written by the National Weather Service out of Birmingham with the assistance of the Storm Prediction Center out of Norman, Oklahoma. And the potential is there for us to have damaging winds tonight. I will say that the tornado threat, it looks much more likely, and it's even a small threat there in southwest Alabama. I think across East Alabama and West Georgia, your number one threat is going to be the wind. And not only the wind associated with thunderstorms, but the wind that's out ahead of the thunderstorms. Look, folks, wind is what? Wind is wind. It does not matter if it comes from a thunderstorm, a hurricane, a helicopter, or the prop wash off of an airplane. Wind is wind. It doesn't matter where it comes from. And if you get 50, 60, 70, 80 mile per hour wind gust, trees can fall. And when trees fall, they cause a lot of damage wherever they land, whether it's on a power line or whether it's on your house. So a lot of folks don't pay attention to weather events if the word tornado is not being used with urgency. They think, well, this is not going to be a big deal. So they don't pay a whole lot of attention to it. You got to pay attention to it. Anytime there is a wind event, you got to pay attention to it. So I can't tell you for sure exactly what it's going to do in Roanoke, Alabama, or anywhere else, but I can tell you what the forecast is. I can tell you what's happening at the moment, and I can tell you what the history is of the storm over the last couple of hours. And you can look at the weather power outage maps, and you can see that there has been wind damage in central and southern Mississippi as this thing moves off to the east and northeast. Will it make it up into the Roanoke area? You know, looking at the trends right now, it looks like the worst of it will probably stay along and south of the I-85 corridor, but there are no guarantees that that is what's going to ultimately happen as we go throughout the rest of this evening. So we've just got to watch this together. Leanne's watching us up there in Potash. What time in Alexander City? Well, probably looking at arrival in Ellick City. What is it, 6 o'clock? Well, 6:04 now. Probably an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours away from Ellick City. So, maybe sometime around 9 p.m., but between 8 and 9 p.m. I think we're a little bit ahead of schedule versus what the original forecast was. Stephanie's asking a really good question. She's asking, will it fizz out before it makes it into Georgia? These type overnight storm systems, they're quasi-linear convective storm systems, okay? Meaning that these storm systems have very little surface-based instability to work with. All right, so if this was 3 weeks from now, we would have a totally different setup. We'd have a lot of instability, and this would probably be a much worse situation than what I think we're ultimately going to realize. But early in the spring, like tonight, where you don't have a whole lot of instability at the ground, you have an extremely dynamic system in the upper levels of the atmosphere, just off of the surface. And these type storms can overcome the fact that there's not a lot of surface-based instability. Surface-based instability generally comes from heating of the surface of the earth. And we just didn't have a whole lot of that today. Yeah, we got up into the upper 60s, low 70s, but we didn't sustain those 70-degree temperatures very long today. You know, if we had bumped 76, 77, or even 80 degrees for the majority of the day today, now we're looking at a much more violent situation at the surface. But these overnight systems with dynamic elements working in the upper levels of the atmosphere sometimes can be pretty tricky to forecast. And that's kind of what we're dealing with tonight. So if we get very heavy rain where we have 50 and 60 mile per hour winds taking place at 10,000 feet in the atmosphere, that rain can push that wind to the surface. And that's what we're looking at tonight. Will that happen everywhere along this line? Absolutely not. Some of you will get wind, some of you will not. Some of you is going to ride this whole thing out, and you're going to say, well, that was a busted forecast. And then 15 miles down the road, you got multiple trees down. And that's just kind of the way this thing is going to work tonight. Everybody's not going to see severe weather, but the potential is there for everyone to see significant or potentially strong to severe thunderstorms as this moves through. Yes, Auburn, I think it's going to probably be in there maybe a little bit sooner, maybe just an hour or so sooner than we originally thought. We'll have to see, though. This thing's not moving very fast. It could always slow down before it gets there, and the forecast could end up being spot on. It just appears to me that it's the original forecast was it would be moving into central Alabama around 9 p.m. Well, it's 6:07, and the folks in Birmingham are dealing with it. I mean, it is there. So the leading edge of it already moving into Birmingham, maybe a couple of hours before we originally thought that it would. You're welcome, Amanda. We try to do a little Weather 101 every now and then. And look, folks, if you don't understand something, that's the whole purpose behind what I do. I don't just sit here and tell you what the weather is or tell you what the weather forecasters are forecasting. I love to help people understand how weather works so that, especially you folks who have weather anxiety, I really like to explain it so that you can understand it, so that maybe that will help with that anxiety. And I know a lot of people deal with it. It's a real thing. And so that's a huge purpose of what we do here on Dr. Don's Weather, is to talk you through these events and let you know how to understand, how to read a radar, how weather works, and to also understand that 90% of being successful in surviving severe weather is simply being aware of what's going on, being weather aware and understanding and knowing what's happening. I promise you, if you'll go back and do some research, I've done it, you can do it too. There's this thing called Google that will back up what I'm about to say. You look at all of the injuries and deaths that take place in the United States of America from severe weather, two things are going to stand out to you. Number one, most of them are in structural structures. I'm trying to be delicate here. Most of them are in modular homes or mobile homes, and they happen in the middle of the night, and the folks that were involved in the injuries and fatalities had no clue what was going on around them. So they were not prepared to evacuate. They didn't understand that the weather was going to get severe. And so, unfortunately, they ended up severely injured or losing their life in the event. So those are all things that are preventable. You know, the one thing that absolutely sends me off the deep end is when I hear someone say, well, I'm not going to worry about it. When the good Lord gets ready for me to come home, I'm gone. Folks, I agree with your faith 100%, but God gave you a brain for a reason. Please use it. Do just a little bit of effort here. Understand where you are on a map. Understand the geography of where you live, where the weather is, which way it's moving. Understand which way is north, south, east, and west. Know where I-20, I-85, I-65 are located. These are all things that if you'll learn, you can do it on your own. Doesn't take a whole lot. Then when we get into these weather events, you'll understand what we're talking about. It'll help with that anxiety, and you'll be prepared to deal with severe weather and protect yourself and your family. All right. We're going to pass the plate around now. Producer Tracy's saying, that's enough. You've preached long enough. You know how it is, folks. I'm passionate about it. So when we get to rolling here, sometimes I take it a little too far. But, hey, look, if it saves one life, just one, it's well worth it. Hey, Wendy, good to see you in here. She's flying tomorrow. Yes, it should be. If you're flying out of Atlanta, you should be good. I think Hartsville will be cleared probably by about 6 or 7 in the morning. It should be. Actually, I think it'll be out of here before then. It's going to be windy, though. Windy. It's going to be windy. Hey, Adam. There's my iSchool Sports Executive Director and President. I was going to say VP of Operations. Well, he's all of those things. He's all of those things. And, well, there's my area field coordinator in the room on the big screen. That's what I'm talking about. Well, since you're watching me on your big screen television, let me go back and put my big head up on the screen. Hey, Abigail. Ella, Lisa. All right, we'll go back to the radar. I don't want to scare everybody off tonight. I'll make the kids cry. Hey, Lisa Gray. Adam said he's the chief bottle washer. Very windy up on Broughton Ridge. Well, y'all about 30,000 feet above the rest of Randolph County up on the Broughton Ridge. And back over toward Potash. Hey, Christy M. LaGrange and West Point are fine at the moment, though we do anticipate a line of thunderstorms moving through your area in a couple of hours, maybe. And for you folks who are watching us up in North Georgia, Jonathan's watching us from down there in the Oconee County area, south of Athens. This line of thunderstorms will also move across North Georgia. At the moment, there's nothing severe in North Alabama, so I don't anticipate anything severe across North Georgia either. I think if we have any severe weather in Georgia, it's probably going to be south of Atlanta, down to Florida. We'll watch that. Those will go over the next couple of hours. I just don't anticipate anything severe up here in North Georgia. Now, the problem in North Georgia, which could also be a problem across East Alabama and West Georgia, is going to be the wind. It is on the rise now across all of Alabama, Central, East Alabama, West Georgia, and it's going to slowly increase over the next couple of 3 or 4 hours. And, you know, we may be looking at wind gusts of 40, 45 miles per hour before the storms even get here. And then you have the wind from the storms, and then it's going to be breezy behind the line of thunderstorms. So any and I'm concerned about brush fires. We've already, my particular county has already toned out the fire department twice since I've been on the air because of fire investigations and controlled burns. I don't have a clue why anybody in their right mind, well, maybe that's the problem, would be out with a controlled burn anywhere in East Alabama, West Georgia, or North Georgia at this hour with this wind picking up like it is. That's a prime case of somebody doesn't have any situational awareness of what's going on around them. Obviously, this individual doesn't understand that we've got, 30, 40, potentially 50 mile per hour winds on the way, or they wouldn't be out there burning. What they're thinking is, I heard it's supposed to rain tonight, Mildred. I'm going to go out here and burn. Didn't listen to the whole forecast. It's going to do a little bit more than rain, and we're going to have extensive wind, which could take that controlled burn and spread it all over your neighbor's backyard or woods or the entire mountain. Don't do it, folks. Know what you're doing when you do stuff like that. Josh asking a question, how much lightning is with this system? Not a tremendous amount. So right there, we're looking, that frame is looking at the majority of the line, and we're talking 150 strikes in the last 3 minutes. It keeps bumping. Well, now it's up to 250. It just kind of fluctuates. Let me bring it current and stop it. I mean, right this second, 87 strikes in the last 3 minutes. But now I've seen it jump as high as 250. But we're talking about from Gadsden, Alabama to Hattiesburg, Mississippi. That's a long way, so that's not a tremendous amount of lightning. The density is certainly not there. Now we're looking at just the portion from Tuscaloosa back up to Birmingham, and we're only talking about 11 strokes of lightning in the last 3 minutes. So the lightning output is not that significant. Lindsay's watching us in Valley, Alabama. We got well over 1,000 people in here at the moment. And that's just over on the Facebook side. That doesn't count what's watching us over on YouTube. Hey, Dana, I just hatched. What's the day? Tuesday. We hatched, Friday night? Yeah, we hatched ours Friday. Funny story, folks. I didn't pay attention to my incubator. I just started throwing eggs in there. Somewhere in the back of my mind, I thought it was a 24-egg incubator. Well, it's a 30-egg incubator. I'm like, and I don't need that many eggs. Chicks. I've already got 17 chicks, or chickens. So I'm thinking, well, all right, I probably won't even have 50% hatch rate. Guess who ended up with 75% hatch rate? I got chicks. I got 22 over here in a brooder right beside my desk here in the studio. Y'all can probably hear them every now and then. And then on top of that, I've never had a hen go broody on me. Yesterday, I go out to collect eggs, and I got a hen that will not budge, and I have no idea how many eggs she's sitting on. So, if anybody needs chicks, Jonathan Jones, please let me know, and I will hand deliver, and I'll bring food, too. Might even throw a cat or two in for good measure. Darlene's watching us in Woodland, Alabama. Roanoke, we're probably looking at a couple of hours. It's 6:18, so probably somewhere around 8:30. Between 8:30 and 9:30, I think, is when the line will get there. Hey, Richard, watching us at the ball field. I think you guys will be okay. You got a couple of hours anyway. Carol says she'll take some chicks, but no cats. It's a package deal. You need a barn cat. Dana, there's some Rhode Island Reds and some of those black ones, whatever they are. And then I had an employee of mine that brought me some, and she wrote down the breeds, but I don't have it with me. They're barnyard chicks. It's nothing specialized. Hey, Brittany, I'll hook you up. That was my intent. I figured the children that are listening, if they heard the word chick, they would all perk up. And then here we go. Tornadoes expected with this storm. Depends on where you are, Alicia. East Alabama, West Georgia. I cannot tell you that there will absolutely be no chance of a tornado, but I can tell you the chance of a tornado across East Alabama and West Georgia will be low. And that's between I-85 and I-20, between I-65 and Atlanta. Kim's asking the question, will temperatures have a factor with this shallow line? Probably not, because the upper level dynamics are through the roof. We're talking up in the upper levels of the atmosphere. We've got a screaming jet stream, and winds are veering from different directions, so all of that's going to cause motion in the upper levels. So, this particular system not that dependent on surface temperatures. We don't have much surface-based instability for this to work with, but may not need it. Sometimes that happens. Watching from Wedowee, how high is the chance of a tornado in Wedowee? Like I just said, across East Alabama and West Georgia, tornado threat is pretty low. Daviston looking good. You're in East Alabama. Warm and windy in Roanoke. Well, see, this wind's coming up out of the south. So it's transporting that wind from South Alabama, pushing it north. So that's why it feels warm out there. Glenn, Georgia, you're probably a couple, 2, maybe 3 hours away. I believe we got a tornado warning in Mississippi. Let's go take a look at it right quick. Y'all know there's something coming on TV here in about at the top of the hour. So unless we have severe weather threatening East Alabama and West Georgia, I'm going to have to step out of here for a little while. But I'll be back. I'll be back before it gets rough. Yeah, we do have a tornado warning. This is in extreme eastern Mississippi, near Quitman, Mississippi. This is a tornado warning for central Clark County and east central Mississippi until 7:15. At 6:18, a severe thunderstorm was capable of producing a tornado located over Quitman, moving to the northeast at 40 miles per hour. This dangerous storm will be near Middleton and Sykes around 6:25 p.m. and Snell, Mississippi at around 6:35. If you got a cousin, an aunt, an uncle, grandparent, or anybody you know that lives in that area of Mississippi, be a hero. Call them on the phone and make sure they understand they're under a tornado warning down there. Then for you folks in Alabama, heads up Butler, heads up Pennington, heads up Listman. That's over there in extreme western, southwestern Alabama. Butler's probably the best known location over there. If you got folks in that area, go ahead and call them and let them know that there is a tornado warning just off to their west in Mississippi. and that storm is moving in their general direction. So once again, if you're just joining us, we'll kind of look at the line right quick, stretching from just south of Huntsville through Coleman down to Birmingham. You'll see it's just not moving very fast. The storms are moving off to the northeast pretty quick. Oh, wow, look at that. Look at this secondary line that's forming back here. All right, so we rock this back to 5:33, so not quite an hour ago. And then we move it forward. Look at that secondary line forming right there along the Alabama-Mississippi state line. It's thin, but that's a pretty good gust front right there. Then we see showers reaching into the Alabaster area down to around Selma and Dallas County, Thomasville, and then back to the southwest. And, of course, we have that tornado warning just inside Mississippi. I'm going to flip over to the base velocity and look at some of this wind. All right, so we're looking at some 40 and 50 mile per hour winds just north of Gadsden. 60 mile per hour winds just northeast of Birmingham. Some 50s down there in southwest Chilton County, northwest Autauga County. There's a 51 mile per hour incoming. Maybe some 60s down in, let's see where we at here. That would be Dallas County. And then 40s and 50s on down into southwest Alabama. Now, understand that's not at the surface. Those winds are, 3, 4, 5,000 feet up in the atmosphere. But let me go back to the reflectivity. When you put this heavy rain that you see along this line on top of those winds, and that rain comes to the ground, it pushes that wind to the surface. And then you also have the motion of the line itself that can add to the issue. And that's how you get those 50, 60, and 70 mile per hour straight line winds. All right, we got our first Alabama tornado warning. And this is for a radar indicator tornado in Mississippi, just west of Waynesboro, Mississippi, moving to the east-northeast toward Silas and Coffeyville, Alabama. Tornado warning for southwestern Choctaw in southwest Alabama, northwestern Washington County in southwest Alabama, and central Wayne County in southeastern Mississippi until 7 p.m. At 6:25, a severe thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado was located 6 miles northwest of Clara or 6 miles west of Waynesboro, moving to the east at 55 miles per hour. So that is a severe thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado, about to move into Alabama. So Choctaw County, Alabama, our first tornado warning for the evening. That is going to be west and a little bit southwest of Thomasville, or to the west of Grove Hill, to the northwest of Jackson, Alabama, or southwest of Sweetwater. And you folks up here in Butler, be ready, because there's a second cell just to the north of that one we were just talking about, just to the east of Quitman, that's probably going to prompt a warning for another warning for southwest Alabama. But that's a long way off. That weather is occurring down in southwest Alabama, which from Roanoke, Alabama, at the moment, these tornadoes are 216 miles southwest of Roanoke, Alabama, just to kind of give you an idea of how far away that weather is at this hour. So that's certainly not a threat. And this secondary line that's forming back here, that is mainly going to be wind. At the moment, it doesn't show any signs of any type of tornado activity. Those storms are rotating, no question about it. You see the mesoscale detections that are popping up all over the screen. That's just telling us we got some significant wind in that. And that is sitting up a little bit further north than this tornado watch. And we now see special weather statements that have been issued for multiple counties in West Alabama because of that secondary line that has formed. Let's just read this. Strong thunderstorms will impact southwestern Tuscaloosa, southwestern Marion, Pickens, northern Greene, northeastern Sumter, western Fayette, and Lamar counties through 7 p.m. At 6:17, Doppler radar is tracking strong thunderstorms along a line extending from 8 miles east of Aberdeen to 6 miles east of Bent Oak or near, I'm not even going to try that one. Movement was to the east at 35 miles per hour. The hazard with this is wind gusts to 50 miles per hour. So that's what 50 mile per hour winds look like in a squall line that's moving into West Alabama. And, so, I mean, we could definitively say that what we're seeing across central Alabama right now is actually running out ahead of the main line. And this may set up as the main line that's crossing out of Mississippi into Alabama at this hour. We could have some storms in here as early as 9 o'clock, and it could continue for a couple of hours as this stuff moves through. No worries at all for anybody across East Alabama or West Georgia at the moment. Yeah, Kim, you've got 20, 30 mile per hour wind gusts. I mean, all of East Alabama and West Georgia is going to have that now, and that's going to continue for several hours. We don't have any convection over Randolph County, so I can't really look and see what the wind is in the storm because there's no convection to look at. There's no rain. That's how radar works. The wind blows the rain droplets, and that's how you can look into a rainstorm and see what the winds are. None of that's taking place over County Road 43 right now, so I can't see what it is. But I can tell you that 30 to 40 mile per hour wind gusts are certainly going to be possible with sustained winds of 20 to 25 miles per hour. Hey, Kim Lamb. Hey, Chris. If you're on call tonight, I'd keep my tennis shoes on or my hard-toed boots. Timing on the strong stuff is probably going to be closer to 9 or 10 p.m. We could see a few showers before that across East Alabama and West Georgia, but the significant possibilities probably won't happen until, 9 or 10 p.m. Same thing for LaGrange. Tornado probability for Auburn is low. Hey, Kay. Chase, where'd you hear thunder? You must be back toward Birmingham or Clanton. Noonan timing, probably after midnight, closer to between midnight and 1 a.m. Eastern. If there's a severe thunderstorm warning, should we treat it like a tornado warning and get in our safe place? Good question, Paula. I am a supporter of always doing that. Why take the chance? A severe thunderstorm can put a tree right through the middle of your house. It can take the roof off of your house just like a tornado can. So my advice on that is to always treat a severe thunderstorm warning just as though it's a tornado warning, because there are often times a thunderstorm will produce a tornado with no warning. So I think it's always a good idea to do that. Little Old Valley. Hey, Cindy, you're in East Alabama. Same thing as everybody else. Yes, Clanton, you probably did hear thunder. You got I'm showing a stroke of lightning right there, Jemison, and then just west of Jemison. So if you're in Clanton, yeah, you should be hearing thunder. Bria, all I can do is tell you what the forecast is, and the forecast is for possible winds 25, 30 miles per hour, gusting as high as 50. That's before the storms get to you. And then up to 60 mile per hour straight line winds during the storm. And then you're going to be breezy for several hours after the storm ends. Thank you, Wesley. All right, folks, here's what we're going to do. It's 6 it is 6:35, 6:36. And we've been going for 47 minutes here, so I'm going to step aside and continue to watch developments across central Alabama and west Alabama. And then probably in about an hour, hour and a half, I'll come back and we'll at least do another update, or may potentially stay with you long form when we come back if things continue to progress the way they are right now. I've gotten notification of a couple of you folks who have supported us since we've been on. And let me tell you folks how much I appreciate that. You're doing us a great, huge favor by supporting Dr. Don's Weather, because that keeps us streaming for East Alabama and West Georgia. Joanne, I'm not going to call your last name because a lot of folks wouldn't want me to do that, but I'll say thank you, Joanne, for your support of Dr. Don's Weather. And I encourage all of you to support us if you can. Thank you, Wendy. I see you for your support. And you see the folks on the screen that support Dr. Don's Weather from the local businesses. Let me go back over here. There's several of them there at the top of the screen. More of them rotate there on the left-hand side of the screen. Call these people and tell them thank you, because they're the reason I can continue to do this. Of course, this is my passion. I love to do it. But I'm telling you, folks, there's a lot of cost involved in doing this. It's very expensive. A lot of equipment's involved in it. So thank these businesses, and thank you individually to you folks who support us here on Dr. Don's Weather. You'll see a scroll there in the chat room where you can support us. You can go to any of our primetime daily weather forecasts at the top of every one of those videos over on Facebook and on YouTube. You'll find a whole list of options on how you can support us, and we ask that you do that when you can. We're in our 6th year of broadcasting live during severe weather here on Dr. Don's Weather, and we want to be doing it 6 years from now. So please support us when you can. All right, so we're going to take a break. I'm going to go take a look at some weather information, and we'll come back in about an hour, maybe hour and a half, depending on how things progress over the next hour or so, and we'll continue giving you updates. And at some point tonight, if it becomes warranted, we'll stay with you in long-form coverage through the entire event. Again, if you have folks down in southwest Alabama, call them and tell them we have a 3rd tornado warning down there now, just inside Mississippi. So from Demopolis to Thomasville to Monroeville, back down towards Centinel, and all of those points back in toward the Mississippi state line, you need to be heads up and weather aware down there. Multiple thunderstorm cells that could be producing tornadoes down there. So be safe, and I'll see you back in here in an hour, 90 minutes or so on Dr. Don's Weather. Thanks for joining us.